Safary Wa-Mbaleka is a qualitative research enthusiast and scholar. He has published several books and journal articles on qualitative research for a decade now. He is well known around the Philippines, where he has delivered several qualitative research seminars, webinars, workshops, and conference presentations. He has been with AQRA from day one, as its founding president. He is currently an associate professor of leadership in higher education at Bethel University outside of Minneapolis, Minnesota, USA. At Bethel, he teaches doctoral research courses and advises doctoral students on their qualitative research methodology. He is the co-editor of the new baby of AQRA, the Sage Handbook of Qualitative Research in the Asian Context. Please welcome our keynote speaker, Dr. Wa-Mbaleka.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It is good to be here after 3 years and have been connected virtually. I have been meeting with a lot of you, and now we have a new AQRA president in just 3 years and a half. And today, this afternoon, when I went to get lunch, I met for the first time somebody, a delegate that was coming from a place I always dreamed to have somebody, a member from, and that is the University of Antigua. Dr. Richard, I don't know if you're in the house. Dr. Richard, if you can just wave. This is the only man who is coming, the only delegate coming from Antigua. And I always wanted to see someone from Antigua. We have had delegates coming from all over the Philippines, but never did I remember meeting somebody from Antigua. And so when I met him, we had a wonderful time together to speak. And I asked him, how did you get to know about AQRA? And when you listen to these stories, they start telling you what qualitative research is about in the Asian context, which is the key that our leaders have selected, qualitative research in the Asian context. And that's what we'll be talking about this afternoon. And I was very, very glad that I will be talking about on one side and the previous president will be speaking on the other side of the same topic I'm talking about this afternoon. So this is exciting. We didn't prepare together, but I think it's going to be exciting to see the outsider's perspective. That's what I'm talking about. And she will come in, Dr. Rosario, with the insider's perspective. It should be very interesting. I come from Bethel University, as it was introduced. It's a Christian university located in St. Paul, Minnesota, which is just outside of Minneapolis, for those who have been to Minneapolis. But I don't live there. I work fully online, so I'm living in Orlando, Florida. This is just a couple of shots of the university. I've been there only twice, basically, but it's more of my work is online. And it has about 3,000 students, and most of them are Christian, but not all of them are Christian. So let's speak about qualitative research in the Asian context and outsider's perspective. And the perspective I'm going to talk about it comes from the work that we just completed, the Sage Handbook of Qualitative Research in the Asian Context, as I was working with many different experts, as we were working with many different experts from different parts of Asia. I got to learn a whole lot of things. And this afternoon, I'll be talking about 10 lessons. But one thing that I have discovered over the years, I started speaking in the Philippines in 2012, and until now, I've been speaking in different parts. The afternoon sessions are always difficult. So I'm going to ask you to stand up, all of you, so that we can breathe, so that we can be energized before you go on sleeping on me. I will try to keep you awake, but it's good that we all wake up before this, because the next 30 minutes are going to be very hard. And one of the things, stay standing. One of the things I've learned in the Filipino culture And we're going to talk about that a lot during this conference. You're going to hear a lot of culture. I was happy to hear from the Vice President of Academic Affairs that he has learned a number of cultural things from Asia. And we're going to hear a lot of those throughout the conference. One of the things that I've learned in the Philippines is that when you travel to see your family, you need to bring them something. It's called what? If you are not from the Philippines, it's called pasalubong. That's your first word. So I have a tiny little pasalubong that I'm going to ask AQRA to distribute to each one of you, just 2 pieces, just to know, for you to know that I remembered you when I was packing to come to the Philippines. Please sit down. Please sit down. All right. 10 lessons that I have learned as an outsider. 10 lessons that I have learned as an outsider, qualitative researcher in the Philippines and around Southeast Asia specifically. I've been in a few countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, what else? I've been Singapore, of course. I don't remember the others. Where I look at in Thailand, I look at different cultures and try to link that to qualitative research. I don't know if you have noticed that whenever we talk about qualitative research, we can never talk about it without bringing in cultural issues, because you are interacting directly with people, and as you are trying to interact with them, you will find that culture comes in, and if we ignore this culture, we may collect wrong data, we may misinterpret data, and the list goes on, but I'm going to be brief because we're running out of time. So let me go to the first lesson. What is the first lesson that I have learned? The first lesson, qualitative research is inherent in many Asian cultures. When you travel in different parts of Asia, you'll find that just saying strongly agree, strongly disagree is not enough to understand what is happening. I remember I remember one specific event I was teaching this class on cultural diversity here at IS, which is the university where AQRA is hosted, has a headquarters. And some students told me, you know, Filipinos are liars. I said, Wa-Mbaleka, how would you say one whole nation is a liar? There's got to be something about that. And I know right now, our Filipino family members is like, who said that? Let's have a fight with that person. I will join you actually to fight them because I'm half Filipino as well. And I asked them, why do you think so? Why do you think they're liars? They said, you know, when you ask them, do you have this? They will say yes. And when you go to find out, they don't have it. And I started actually checking what was happening. I go to SM, to the mall, and you ask me, do you have this kind of shirt? Do you have neckties? Do you have barong? And they would say, yes. And then after that, I say, wait for, and then they walk. And they go, and they come back. Sometimes that one will send to the next one, and to the next one, to the next one. I said, what's going on here? So, as I spent more and more years here, more time, I discovered that it is wrong to say no. So any question you ask, it must always be yes. I went through this again last Friday when I arrived in Manila. I asked somebody at the airport, the security, I was asking for specific information. They just had to be polite. And so I'm not going to interpret people and one nation as being liars simply because they are communicating differently than I am. So, what have I learned on this one? Asian cultures are very complex. In the Philippines, you find people who are very open, and you take a flight to Bangkok, people will not talk to you. You try to extract information from them. And you go to India, you find some other reality. You get to Singapore, you find another reality. And yet all of them, for us foreigners, we count them all as Asians. But they have many, many other cultures. We have directness of communication in the Philippines. That means when I'm interviewing, I can be direct with them because they are direct. I remember somebody actually telling me something that you should never ever say to a black man, and I can say this because we have a few black people here. I was on the island of Mindoro, and I was just sitting on the boat, and I'm the only black on this boat that has how many hundreds, maybe thousands of people, and I hear a man shouting behind me, say, "Hi." I said, okay, this is where it comes. This is where it comes. This is the directness that you'll find in the Philippines. It's not necessarily because somebody wants to offend you, although in some cases it may happen, but it's because they are very direct, which is something I believe they got from the Spaniards. Because you find the rest of Asia, they are much more subtle. They will not directly communicate with you, which means when I'm conducting qualitative research, I will have to spend time establishing trust before I can get information from them. While in the Philippines, you meet a Filipino you have never met anywhere outside of this room. Hi, how are you? What's your name? How old are you? Are you married? Where are you from? When are you going back? I remember the first few months of my life here. The very first time I ever came to the Philippines to study was in the year 2000, 1 week before 2000. And I was struggling with people asking me personal questions within 5 minutes. But that's the directness that you find in the culture here, which you will not find in Thailand. We will not find that in China. Dr. Yang, I hope I'm not wrong. You will not find that in China. You have to spend some time to build trust before people can share with you. We have the indirectness that I think comes from the Buddhist countries where people are much more subtle. South Korea, I cannot just jump and engage people directly. It takes some time. They have to know you first before they can share information with you. And then we have the oral tradition, which is the main feature of Eastern cultures. I want to believe that this makes qualitative research a lot more pleasant or more suitable for the Asian context than other parts where people may be much more individualistic. Let's look at the second lesson that I've learned. Status, power, Asian education must be respected. When this is common to most parts of Asia, including the Philippines. I remember one day I was mentioned in university, I was giving training on qualitative research at that university in the Visayas in zone, and we were supposed to start at 8:30. But they had put in the program at the beginning that the president is going to speak. And because the president happened to have a lot of meetings, we had to wait. We waited 30 minutes. At first, I thought 10 minutes would be fine. Then it became 30 minutes. I said, oh, this is too late. 45 minutes, we're still waiting, and nothing was moving. And we had a whole meeting of training that had to happen. Meeting all this time, we tried to catch up and we want to finish on time. But it's impossible because this time is passing. The president ended up coming maybe an hour and a half later on to speak for 3 minutes. And then after that, we started training. I'm looking at that as an outsider. I said, okay, you're killing me. You're kidding me. The president would have come and speak whenever he wants. And we started our thing. No. This is an Asian context. Somebody who is in power has all the authority that if there's an event and he's the first one to speak, we will have to wait for that to happen. Oops. Okay. I see that my PowerPoint has just done here, and while I'm waiting for it to come back, the question of gender. I would say in the Philippines, gender, women have the tendency to be more powerful than men. I don't know if foreigners have noticed that. It is very interesting. I've been observing that, and I had an experience where I was asked, I think in Laguna, to speak in a gender empowerment or women empowerment conference. And that women empowerment conference, I had to talk about how to empower women. It was a struggle for me because I thought this country, of all the Asian countries, I think the Philippines has, women have the most power in the Asian countries. But you go to other countries outside. The Philippine context. While if I'm conducting it in China, it may be a different story. All right, and that goes on with the respect and different traditions that come in. Let's go to lesson number 3. There are general and context-specific ethics. And this is something that we discovered as we're working on the SAGE handbook for qualitative research in the Asian context. We started digging deeper into issues of ethics. The Western ethics, for example, in the Western ethics, when I'm recruiting you for my study and you're an adult, you have to grant me permission. And your permission is very powerful. But in Asian countries, where age is a big factor, in fact, to recruit people, you need to go through the person who has the power. You cannot just go straight to the participants, even if you have already the permission, institutional permission if it's in a university, but you have better chance in a number of contexts to go through somebody who has power. So when you look at this from Western perspective, it's like, oh no, that is coercion. That's what we'll see, that you are coercing people because you're asking somebody who's in power to recruit for you. So they cannot say no. If I go to the vice president of IAS to recruit participants, please ask them to participate. From the Western perspective, he is obliging them, he's putting pressure on them. So that is no. But in Asian context, it's like, oh, it is coming from the boss. Okay, then I can participate. If it didn't come from the boss, I'm not going to participate because either I don't want to get in trouble or it's not that important because the boss is not involved. So issues of privacy, confidentiality, and respect, you find that we have the general rules in the literature, but we have things that will be much more specific in the Asian context. We have the issues of community opinion, where whatever a single participant is saying, they want to make sure that it's not contradicting what the community believes, even if they have their own opinion. Again, this is where you find the individualistic society and other societies that will not work very well. The foreign voice is valued more than internal voice or internal expertise. I did not understand, starting I think around 2014, why I would be invited in so many conferences to speak around the Philippines. I said, well, we have so many people with PhDs, so many people have published a lot. Why is it that I get to be invited several times? Even some people who are better than I am. And then I discovered that no, in the Filipino culture, somebody who is a foreigner, we feel like you are going to tell us something that we don't know. If it's our own, it's like you don't have anything to tell us. And then you get to the United States, for example, it's like that. You are invited based on your expertise, on your publications, your scholarship, not so much because you are a foreigner. So these things all play a role, and I think that helped me to do a lot of research here, because whenever I wanted to do research as a foreigner, I was very much welcome, because probably people thought I knew what I was doing, and I hope I knew. shame and honor culture is common in many Asian countries. So people will not engage with you in the research for something that is going to be to them. So this can be helpful in the recruitment process of the participants because they don't want to be ashamed that if they said no, they will say yes. I don't know if that is indirect coercion, I do not know. This leads also for fear of research. We have a number of PhD holders, doctoral students, master students who do not do research because they are afraid that they are going to be rejected. And by being rejected, they are going to bring shame on themselves and on their families and their institution. And so I'd rather not try because by not trying, I don't run the risk of bringing shame into my community. Fear of tackling challenging topics because again, I may get into a shameful situation. Going solely with established practice because then we are safe. We don't want to take any risk. We just want to follow the same formula that all the other people have been following. And this can be an impediment in the process of learning or propagating qualitative research. We go to lesson number 5. There is more willingness to help a friendly foreigner. I think this is based on the Asian hospitality, Asian concept of harmony, where you don't want people to quarrel, to start a conflict. Everybody tries to avoid a conflict, even if it is there, it's boiling, but they will try to avoid that. The intrinsic feeling of wanting to be nice to everyone. And I really want to speak to us foreigners. Let's not take advantage of our Asian partners, because this very positive spirit should not be reason for us to take advantage of them. Need to connect to the world outside. I think that's another reason. And I was wondering, as I was preparing for this presentation, is it possible that because very strong in Asia, is it part of this? That people have learned to be nice because they're used to meeting tourists coming from everywhere? I don't know. That's something that somebody needs to look into. Lesson number 6, there is a special obsession to publication. And this comes, I think, from need for promotion. Many universities require that. Accreditation requires that. Impact on qualitative research growth and in quantitative research journals. This is something that is shifted. Journals have been heavily quantitative in nature, but now we see some changes happening. We have, because of this obsession, we have some people have published in predatory journals. I even met somebody who asked me if I'm willing to get 25,000 pesos to publish, to help her write her paper for publication because she wanted to be promoted for professorial rank. And this, I think, this obsession can actually affect rigor in qualitative research. And so I was so happy. Last year, the AQRA conference was mainly on rigor. Simply because we are doing, not simply, when we are doing qualitative research, it doesn't mean that we throw rigor away. Lesson number 7, professional development culture, I think, is key to the growth of qualitative research here. In the Philippines especially, people attend trainings. It's really kind of automatic. I've never lived in a country that I've lived in quite a number of them. I've never lived in a country where people are so passionate about seminars, workshops, webinars as the Philippines. Indeed, as they say, it's more fun in the Philippines. I later on discovered that it's required for career advancement from communal society. They want to get together. We want to believe, I think this from the other part of Southeast Asia, Buddhist countries especially, that somebody who is giving the training is expected to be an expert. And from Buddhist culture, you're supposed to know more than everybody else. That's why we want to go to the person who knows more than us. Again, oral tradition is there. Today, we have qualitative research in the curriculum, and I think it is supporting the professional development that is going on, because before, we didn't have that in the curriculum. Lesson number 8, we're trying to be as fast as possible because of our time, but we are going to get there. Lesson number 8, COVID-19 has contributed to the growth of qualitative research. Why? In what sense have we seen this? We've seen this. We are now dealing with complex issues that we've never dealt with. And we know that qualitative research is primarily about dealing with complex issues where we do not have predetermined variables. We cannot test hypotheses. We are dealing with something that's complex. And so I think we are at the perfect time of qualitative research because we're dealing with a lot of uncertainties, need for revised ethical practices because of what has been happening, because we are doing qualitative research differently than what we have been doing in the past, and I'm going to come back to this in a few minutes. There's a new level of online collaboration tools that we're not using as much in the past. Lesson number 9. Qualitative research in Asia is more aligned with the new generation of qualitative research. I received the invitation just a few weeks ago from Dr. Wa-Mbaleka. I know some of you have cited him. He's based in Germany, to contribute to the SAGE handbook of qualitative research. And as I was looking at, and I think this is something we have talked about with Dr. Safary, we talked about it when we presented in Portugal with her and Dr. Pavel and Dr. Savan. We discovered that there is a difference in the way Europeans approach qualitative research as opposed to Americans and now Asians. European qualitative research, and those who come from Europe, I think you may agree with me, or who have attended some conferences there, like the course that we're there, they are much more into the philosophical aspect of qualitative research. It's not that practical. And I was reading even the instructions for this chapter that I'm going to contribute to. In my mind, if this came from the United States, it was not going to be written like this. It's just more philosophical thing. And I wrote my abstract that I submitted this week. I said, I hope they're not going to reject my abstract because I come from the practical side. And I love the practical side because we are trying to address practical problems of people. Society is facing a lot of challenges. They need practical solutions to real problems they're facing. They don't have the time to do a lot of philosophies when they are dealing with the issues that are going on right now. And so I want to say from my personal reflexivity that I'm happy that Asia is following the new generation, because the old generation, which is where Europe is still, is more philosophical and trying to create a lot of things that it's just about thinking without much practice. So we see more focus on practical than theoretical knowledge. We see now specific designs, and you see a lot of sources I cited here. These are coming from the book that we are launching this evening. All these people, and some names you will recognize them, they contributed to that book. Systematic data collection and analysis methods and models. We do not go into much of the abstract as you'll find in Europe or in the early days of qualitative research. Lesson number 10. There is an indigenization of qualitative research in the Asian context. And I think that's what we did. That's what we did with the SAGE handbook of qualitative research in the Asian context. We wanted, I learned these two concepts just last week. I was reading an article, and I liked them. I want to explore them. Reterritorialization of knowledge. Where, yes, we know qualitative research as it comes from Western countries, but what does it mean to us here in Asia? And for those who come from South Africa, what does it mean to us coming from South Africa? How do we do it differently than what we have been reading in existing textbooks. And here's another concept: retraditionalization of methods. What does this mean? We take qualitative research and we look at the issues from the traditions, the local traditions, to generate knowledge that is in alignment with the traditions of the locals. Because I remember conducting one study, my dissertation, I was conducting in a refugee camp in Uganda, and I remember trying to interview some people on the phone. And I said, okay, since we are doing this on the phone, some were face-to-face, others were on the phone. So we're doing this on the phone. I'm going to read the informed consent form for you. So I said, please listen, I'm going to read that, and at the end, I just want you to say, okay, I agree with that or no. After I read like 3 sentences, this fellow tells me, can you please cut this and just move on to the next thing? I don't need this. I mean, the fact that I have already accepted to be part of your study, that should be enough. I don't want you to read this nonsense to me. I mean, if I was in the Western side, I would say, no, I really have to finish reading that. But at that point, I said, you know what? That's what he said. I'm going to go with what he says. So there is need, there is retraditionalization that needs to happen. There is inherent multilingualism and multiculturalism. I'm going to talk about this tomorrow. Every country in Asia where you go, almost all of them except China, South and North Korea, they will always have more than one language, and each language comes with a different culture. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. But this gives us an opportunity for collaboration between different languages and different cultures. And this is the whole reason why we came up with the Sage Handbook of Qualitative Research in the Asian context. We're going to talk more about this evening. As I close, I want you to help me with this, if you want. I have asked AQRA to help me with this after I speak. In February, we'll have a conference, I think it's 13th or 14th conference, the Qualitative Report. And for those who have taken qualitative research from start to end, that training of AQRA, you know the Qualitative Report because that is part of it. And what they are trying to look at, and I'm going to encourage you to actually consider coming and present. It will be in Florida and Orlando, not in Orlando, Fort Lauderdale. They want to see how qualitative research has changed as a result of COVID-19. I thought that was a very nice theme. So I was asked to talk about how this has happened in Asia. And so please take this slide, a screenshot of that. If you want to participate, help me with what I'm going to talk about, because I'm an outsider. I need an insider's perspective. Please get an index card. AQRA should have them on the, okay, you have them. You don't have to participate in this, it's optional, but I want to let you know that I'm giving away 4 of my books in the raffles, probably this evening, for those who participate, but you don't have to participate. In a bullet point, what challenges in conducting qualitative research did you meet during this COVID-19? We want to know what is happening around the world. And I want to present the picture from the Philippines specifically. Number 2, what new methods have you been using that you were not using before COVID-19? So if you want to participate in that, just write on the index card and then leave it to AQRA there in the back at the table. We will collect them all. Write your name because that's what we're going to use for the raffle. That's only for the raffle purposes that we're going to put your name, but it won't be used for anything else anymore. If you want to participate, then that's what is going to happen. Let's wrap up this session. Number 1, qualitative research is growing in Asia. And I'm very glad that you are part of the innovation that is happening. We are not saying that we should start quantitative research. No, no, no. We're simply saying that there are issues that need to be addressed with qualitative research, and that's the reason why this has to go. Cultural diversity and richness must be part of this goal. We need to make sure that we are not ignoring the context outside. More intentional qualitative research integration is necessary for this goal. We cannot reach where we want to go without being intentional. That's the reason why the AQRA offers trainings and conferences and publications. Establishing institutional guidelines for qualitative research must continue to happen. If you come from a university where the guidelines that you are following for research are only quantitative or heavily quantitative, it is time to engage the university to have something that's more balanced. More research and publications have happened with the SAGE handbook. I know right now the voices of Asia are all over the world now. We are part of the growing movement. Let's be advocates of quality. Thank you so much for your attention.
Any question? You just lift your hand if you've got a question. All right.
There's one.
Is there a question there? Okay, let me give you the mic.
Of knowledge, so that, and this is a big movement that comes to this, so that we do not lose as much wealth. There is wealth in indigenous knowledge. There is even
Rise the indigenous knowledge. And yet it's knowledge that's very, very useful in society at large. So it's not a matter of removing the organization, but rather bringing the indigenous knowledge also to the table. Thank you so much. We've got a few minutes again. Is there any other question? There is a question.
Thank you so much. If I missed this point, but it's taught that the ethical considerations are universal in quantitative research. You make a point that in some cultures it could be contextual. If you could just unpack that. I'm also inspired by the evolution of indigenous knowledges.
And the example that I gave is that I don't have, in Western cultures, I don't need to go through somebody else to recruit you as an adult for you to participate in my study, because you're an adult. But in certain Asian cultures, if I go straight to you to recruit you, you are not going to accept, because culturally, That recruitment needs to come from somebody who is in power, the gatekeeper, as we call them in qualitative research. While in a Western style of ethics, that would be coercion and that would be unethical. But in Asian culture, that would be perfectly ethical. We have one more chapter on ethics in the Asian context, and you find a lot of these modifications of existing ethical principles when you are trying to conduct that qualitative research in the Asian context.
Thank you so much. One more round of applause for Dr. Safary Wa-Mbaleka. What a great presentation. On behalf of AQRA, I've been asked, as a token of thanks to this great presentation you've given, to give a certificate. I don't know whether it's going to be flashed on the screen. While we probably wait for that, the certificate reads as certificate of recognition is awarded to Safary Wa-Mbaleka, PhD, for his valuable service as a keynote speaker on the topic of qualitative research in Asian context and outsider's perspective during the 7th AQRA International Conference on Qualitative Research. That's basically what it says.